NFT games are the new craze, and one of the platforms leading this movement is Sorare. While most gamers might be hardcore football fans, there's a chance that some of these gamers have signed up to experience the NFT benefits. That is completely fair, and I appreciate your motivations. However, I have noticed that lots of people make some huge mistakes while playing Sorare, and it reduces their chances to earn profits. So today, I am going to help you out by telling you about the biggest mistakes gamers make while playing this game. Pay attention now, because it is a little detailed. First of all, a lot of you just buy your football players based on their averages from just the last 4 or 5 games. This can be a costly mistake for a number of reasons. You may find that although the last 5 games average looks impressive, this may have just been a good run of form for the player, and their previous scores may not be as good. It could also be that the player may have only played 2 of the last 5 games, and had a fairly good performance in those few games. But if he didn't play the other 3 games, or is not a first-team regular, you could be making a huge mistake. It could be even worse if you end up picking someone who just had his only good game right before you bought him. These fluke events raise their averages only for a short period of time. They do not reflect the truth. Also, buying a player that has scored highly in his last few games probably is not the best time to do so. You are better off waiting until he has a few average scoring games. This way, he is likely to be less in demand and available at a cheaper price. You will save on your costs while also picking up a good player. Timing is the key to a profitable purchase decision. So, it is worth doing some more research on the player rather than relying only on recent stats. Another issue is that you end up selling your players too early. All I mean by this is that you should have more faith in your team. Suppose a player who has done well previously starts getting low scores for 2 or 3 games. What some people do is that they sell that player immediately. This is a very bad move for a number of reasons. Firstly, if he is in a bad run of form, you will most likely sell him at a cheap price. That will eat into your earnings, and you will lose money. Also, if the player does have the underlying stats and quality to get good scores, then he is most definitely going to come back into form. All you need to do is keep the faith. You do not want to be in a situation where you sell your player today, and the next week, he scores 100 points for his new team. You will end up feeling very silly about it. Please remember that no one is perfect. Players can have a few off days even if they are in good form. You need to analyze and understand your team before making any rash decisions. It is always worth looking at the bigger picture before hitting that sell card button. Next up, I do not understand why so many people are not using their spare cards in training. Now I am sure you all might think that there is no point in putting them in training if you can't win any prizes for it. You might also think that it takes too long to use them up during the training process. These are valid points, but I want you to consider something else. What if you enter a prize-giving tournament? This decision could cost you some important bonuses because card XP is important in these tournaments. Sorare is a complete NFT game, and you need to look at all possible options to win and earn profits. Putting cards in training is very important as this basically increases the power of your cards. Also, the amount of bonus points they will get in the SO5 tournaments could be the difference between winning a prize and coming away empty-handed. You must regularly rework your strategies because there is no fixed way to come out on top of the other players. Now, this one is a very basic error, but a lot of players still make it. You should never be picking your team too early. I know that it is tempting to choose your star players as soon as the next game week window opens up. There's no harm in some well-thought-out advanced selection, but make sure that you recheck your teams before the deadline. If you pick your team as soon as the new game week opens up, then you are exposing yourself to a lot of possible flaws. It is more likely than not that you will not have any predicted lineups or team news at this point. Also, one of your players might even get injured during a training session or something like that. If that player turns out to be your captain, then it can seriously hurt your points. So, it is always a good idea to finalize your teams at minimum the night before the deadline. You could even do it in the morning of the deadline day to keep your risk as low as possible. In cases like these, the early bird does not catch the worm. Finally, I strongly advise you not to use the scattergun approach. By this, I mean buying any card because you think they look cheap, or that they did well in a recent game. Another example is buying loads of youngsters, especially strikers, as they have the potential to score lots of goals. The only problem is that you also need a defender, midfielder, goalkeeper, and of course, someone who is actually in the first team. Your team needs to be well balanced if you want them to score you all those important points. It is good to have a strategy in terms of buying the cards that you actually need to maximize your chances of winning Ether and players' cards. My advice would also be to buy a quality defender or midfielder over buying 4 average ones. You should also consider each SO5 tournament, and make sure that you have at least a single player to fill every slot in your 5-a-side team. Quality over quantity should be your golden rule when you are first starting out. So please do not buy every player that looks cheap. Think about what players you need for each tournament and in what position you need them. Now, I am going to run through a few tips that will help you and your gameplay. First, you should try to scout for your players by using Sorare data. It is by far the best tool for scouting and trying to value players. The best part is that it is completely free to use. It offers far more information on each player than you get on Sorare itself. You will also be able to see what scores everyone has posted over the last 40 games, and see every price they have previously been exchanged at. In the early phase of deciding your targets, you may end up spending more time here than on Sorare itself. While this can be time-consuming, proper scouting can really reap rewards in the long term. So I definitely recommend this tool. Next, you should focus on finding your edge. Sorare is a global football platform in more than 20 different countries. That creates a really unique environment, and if you are extremely knowledgeable on one of the less popular leagues, then you can find a real edge. Some of the managers on Sorare are experts on the Korean League or Japanese League. Because of this, all of these managers regularly buy and sell Asian players. This gives them an added advantage when they enter the Asian tournaments. Now you might not be too enthusiastic about these leagues, but you can still look for other options. Once you decide to really get into one of the smaller leagues, you should watch some matches and educate yourself. It should not be long before you have an advantage on the market. It is also worth noting that many players in Asia and America actually score better than some of the elite stars in Europe. This is a mental game more than anything else. Finally, I want you to be careful when you look at decimal points. This may sound obvious, but you will be surprised to hear how often players are sold for 10 times their value, just because of a simple mistake. Suppose you type 0.2 Ether instead of 0.02. This is the difference between $80 and $800. So I urge you to be careful and recheck your amounts before finalizing them. Also, be alert when you deal with certain managers. They try to frame their going rates in a confusing manner on purpose. This is an attempt to trick people into selling quickly without thinking. There is a block button. Do not be afraid to use it. Of course, nothing is perfect, so these tips are only meant to help you. The final decisions are yours, so your research needs to be on point. If you want to learn about making passive income from NFT gaming, check this video. If you want to watch more content like this, then go ahead and hit the like and share buttons. You can subscribe to my channel if you find my content to be insightful. Don't forget to let me know your thoughts in the comments. I will see you soon.